So thank you all for coming. It's an exciting day to be a Bison and part of the Bucknell football family. Let me start by thanking the folks who are on the search committee for all of their efforts, and a special thank you to Deputy AD Tim Pavlechko. He's in the back there for all of his efforts and insight throughout this process. Truly proved to be invaluable. I don't see Joe here today, but I do just want to take a moment to thank Joe Susan for all that he's meant to this program. For those of you who know him, he spent nearly 20 years of his life here at Bucknell as a coach, and so he leaves a long-lasting and positive legacy here. And so, Joe, if you're listening, thank you for everything you've done. But I do expect and have no doubt that our new coach, Dave Cecchini, will carry on that legacy and certainly will take us to new heights competitively. So looking forward to that piece. So why Dave? And John touched on this a little bit here. Every stop, he's been successful. And that was a question that I kept coming back to myself. I said, regardless of circumstances, has the person made where they've been better? And the resounding answer when it came to Dave was yes, and there's no doubt about that. His diverse experiences from the Ivy League to the Citadel to winning conference championships and having that championship pedigree in the Patriot League was something that was really important to me, and also understanding the landscape of the Patriot League and how to be competitive within it. And so he knows that, he knows it well, and that was an important factor. The other piece of this is I'll say it, he really inherited one of the toughest jobs in the country at Valpo. He really did. It was a program that if you didn't look at it, it hadn't had a winning season in 15 years prior to his arrival. In the 5 years before he got there, they won a total of 4 games. That's a pretty tough program to inherit. But he did tremendous things while he was there. By the time he got his senior class in there, he had tremendous success and was setting all kinds of records. He was named the Coach of the Year for the first time since 2003 as for a Valpo coach in nearly 15 years, a long, long time that anybody at Valpo had done things like that. Was named the Region 4 Coach of the Year and was the FCS National Coach of the Year finalist. So again, tremendous success there. And again, you read the bio and you saw all the history there, what the program looked like before he inherited it to what the program looked like now. And so what all that says to me is that Dave knows how to win in difficult environments, and I love that. And not to suggest that ours is difficult, but it won't be easy. But I know Dave welcomes that, he embraces that, and he has a proven track record of making every place he's been significantly better. And so that's why I can't tell you how thrilled I am to welcome Dave, his wife Tammy, his 2 children, Evan and Will, to the Bucknell football family and to the Bucknell University family. He's a great addition for us. Can't wait to get started. I know his family couldn't join him today, but please join me in welcoming our 27th Bob Odell head football coach, Dave Cecchini.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for that warm welcome. First of all, I'd like to start off saying I'm very appreciative to be here, and I'd like to thank Jermaine Truax as well as President Brobman. Just what an amazing job they did throughout this process. You know, as you guys heard, I am a Lehigh grad. That did make just what I was beat into me when I was in college. It made this a little bit tougher sell. But thanks to their efforts and how welcoming they have been, and when I got on campus last week, an opportunity to see really what this place was all about and the vision that they had for a successful championship caliber football program, I realized it wasn't a hard sell at all. It was an easy sell, and I'm very appreciative of their efforts and of their faith in entrusting me to lead this program moving forward. I'm not a big ego guy. I do not think that I alone can turn this program into a championship caliber program. Without question, it is a collaborative effort. It's going to take, obviously, our players buying into our philosophy, an assistant football coaching staff, a great group of individuals who can buy into that philosophy and share my vision as well. But it goes even beyond that as well. It goes with the administration, obviously, here in athletics. It goes with the faculty and staff that are here on campus, and admissions directors and people who can assist in the recruiting efforts. This is A more challenging place, certainly any Patriot League school is more challenging than your typical Division I FCS football program with all the unique challenges that exist here in this league. But with those great challenges come tremendous opportunities. And I believe with all my heart that this university has the ability to attract a championship caliber student athlete that we are looking for in recruiting a program moving forward, and that there are some outstanding days ahead for the future of Bucknell University's football team. The immediate goals. Obviously, we want to do everything we can, working as hard as we can to reach our full potential for the 2019 season. I don't know yet what that means. If that means going 11-0 and winning a Patriot League championship, that would be great. No one would be happier than I am. But if 6-5 is ultimately the best goal that we can have, if that, we do play a pretty tough non-conference schedule as well. If that's the best that this program can do in this coming season, I'm going to do everything to make sure that we get there. Achieving our potential is going to be something that we are going to relentlessly pursue throughout the course of the following years as we build a solid foundation moving forward. I would not be standing in front of you today if I didn't believe in all my heart that we cannot bring this football program up to the championship level. We believe wholeheartedly that the future of Bucknell football is very, very bright, and that I intend to do everything within my power to build this program. Whether that takes a year or 4 or 5 years down the road, we are going to get there. And we're going to do it the right way. I'm not going to look for shortcuts. I'm not going to look to cheat. I'm going to look to go out there and find a particular caliber of student athlete who can embrace what this university is all about, what this football program is going to be all about. And the bottom line, to find a player in which Bucknell is a great fit for them. I believe these two ideas of having a championship caliber football program and having a championship caliber academic program are not mutually exclusive. They can go together. You can come to Bucknell with the expectation of A, becoming the best student you possibly can be, and B, while you're doing that, becoming the best football player that you can be. And that's what we're going to be out there doing. As we start shaking the bushes from a recruiting standpoint moving forward, we're going to embrace that fact. We're going to go out there and look not just for a football player or just for a great student, but someone who in the end is a great fit for this institution and this football program, and one in which we will be the best fit for them. Because it's truly a belief of mine that everybody comes into a particular college with a different level of potential, whether that's able to reach the NFL, or whether it's to be a Division I FCS All-American, or maybe that's just being an all-conference member of the Patriot League. Everybody comes in with a certain level of potential. But the ones that actually achieve that potential, ultimately that starts with them feeling like they belong, them feeling like they're in the right place, feeling like Bucknell University is home for them. And that is going to be a major approach as we go out and lead a national recruiting effort to scour the country for these young 17 and 18-year-old men in which are the right fit for this institution. So, thrilled to death to be here, excited to get things started, and at this moment I think we're going to move on to questions. Well, absolutely. Well, I'll start with the fact that yes, my expertise does lie on the offensive side of the ball, but philosophically I'm a firm believer that defense wins championships. Offense scores points and sometimes gets more than their share of the glory and provides certain entertainment factor, but you can't win a championship without a championship caliber defense. So this spring moving forward, it's going to be incredibly important, particularly with the level of complexity offensively that what we have is instilling a base level of confidence. It is a challenging scheme. There is a learning curve that is required to go through for a player. I don't care how bright you are. It does take time. We want to kind of push the edge of the envelope to get as much as we can in those spring practices, but ultimately we don't want to go so far that we leave spring without our players on offense feeling a certain level of confidence that they can go out and execute what we're going to ask of them. So if that means not installing our entire system in spring and waiting through fall camp to get that done, that's what we're going to do. If on the defensive side of the ball, there is going to be a little bit less of a learning curve, but we certainly plan to install a very aggressive and attacking style of defense. It's not going to be a huge change in terms of a scheme standpoint from what Bucknell has done in the past. I know they've had some very good defenses over the past couple of years. So the learning curve isn't going to be quite the same, but still there is that process of adapting to a new terminology, perhaps a new way of how we teach things that may be different than how that particular player has been taught things in the past, and just the natural process of getting to know your particular position coaches and coordinators. This, in the grand scheme of things, with where we are in the calendar year, this is butting up against the beginning of spring football. So we're really going to have to hustle to put together a coaching staff that can all get on the same page, start that bonding process with our student athletes, and move forward as efficiently as we possibly can. I do. Unfortunately, that's actually a bad memory for me. Obviously, we lost the football game. That was our only league game that we lost that year here at Christy Mathewson Stadium. So I was able to individually have one of my better days, but I'm a team guy. It's all about getting the W at the end. It didn't matter to me in college whether I caught 2 passes or 20. The most important thing was winning a football game. Yeah. So I just talked a lot about the philosophy that I have as a head coach. We talked about that. We talked about the different types of styles of offense, defense, special teams that we're going to look to create. We talked about our pillars, building a foundation, and we're going to do that off of 3 pillars. We're going to build that off of attitude, character, and toughness, ACT. And we're going to use that mantra kind of moving forward. I'm a big fan of the Bill Walsh quote that goes something along the lines of championship football teams act like champions before they become champions, and I like that act as part of it, the ACT. I'm a big fan of belief in attitude about life being 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you react to that. Obviously, the type of character, you can go out and recruit the best athlete that's out there, and if they don't have character, they're not going to survive at this institution. So that is really important in terms of building the type of team that we want to represent this university. And then the toughness aspect, again, it comes down to being stronger, tougher, the team that can win the fourth quarter, the team that can dominate in overtime, and instilling that type of mentality right from the very start. Yeah, well, it's funny. I mentioned that to the team earlier today as well. I do come from a coaching family somewhat. My father played at Michigan, was a captain at Michigan, and went on to have a pretty solid coaching career at both the collegiate and the NFL ranks. And so I may have gotten a little push from him, but definitely the biggest influence on me was my mother, who unfortunately passed away about 9 months ago. She was a elementary school teacher for her whole life, taught 2nd through 5th grade, and probably taught me a love of learning and a passion for educating people, and my venue, the way I can impart that is not as a teacher or as a professor, but as a football coach, and that truly is where my passion lies. Now, obviously, there have been several coaches who have done an incredible job of shaping me as I went professionally, as I grew as a college coach. Guys like Kevin Higgins, who's the assistant head football coach at Wake Forest certainly had a big impact on me. Tim Murphy, who's still the head football coach at Harvard, just the way that he did things up in Cambridge affected me and who I became. And certainly Andy Cohen, who's a very close friend of mine, who just recently had to unfortunately resign due to some health issues at Lehigh. Andy's a very close friend of mine, and I was able to work with him when he was the head football coach for the last 4 years. So I've certainly taken something from everybody that I've worked under, but for me that really starts with mom and dad. Oh, thank you. It is nice. I've been brown at Lehigh for so many years, and for those of you that don't know, Valparaiso's school colors are brown, and so I got a lot of earth tones in that wardrobe right now. I'm excited to get to some blue things.
Well, I think I accomplished both. It was speedy and got the right guy, no doubt about it. I started this by knowing, with the backdrop of spring ball right around the corner, how important it would be to get somebody in for that, because likely it was going to be a fairly new system and install on both sides, but as you just heard, defensively will look fairly similar. So again, I wasn't going to sacrifice trying to get somebody quickly, wanted the right person, and so in terms of the timeline, I think it was, less than a month? Yeah, a little bit. And so there was a lot of interest in the position. I mean, ultimately, there's only so many Division I head football jobs, and so obviously appreciate all the folks reaching out. It was very, very competitive. Bucknell's an attractive institution. If you just set the football aside for a second, we offer so many things here as a university, so that alone makes us very attractive. Now put the football piece in here. People believe we can win here. Obviously, you just heard it from Dave, and so do I. And so, again, a lot of candidates, but Dave rose above the fray, no doubt about that. Again, I go back to thinking about what he inherited at Valpo and what he did there, and implemented some of that turnaround here from a competitive standpoint. So.
In the process of that right now, I do have several assistant coaches who I have contacted, potential coaches that I know are very excited to come here and join my staff. I am this afternoon going to begin the process of interviewing existing staff members, assistants, and going through that process here after the basketball game, really into tonight and then tomorrow as well, and I get a chance to hopefully get to know them better. I do envision retaining at least one and up to three assistants to help with that process, to provide as much continuity as possible. But as Jermaine mentioned, I mean, this is a very attractive job, not only as a head coach, but for an assistant who sees the value in coaching in the Patriot League, sees the type of fulfillment that you can get in coaching these types of student athletes. And I've had a number of phone calls, a lot of people who are very highly interested, and I hope to have most of my staff in place perhaps as early as a week from tomorrow, or excuse me, a week from Monday, and hopefully with an entire staff certainly in place prior to the start of spring ball. Yes, yeah, and the latest kind of form of that spread or spread option attack has certainly seemed to have taken the shape in what's called RPOs, run pass options, where the quarterback will read a particular defense, and if he deems pulling the football out of the belly of the tailback and throwing the ball out to a wide receiver or a tight end based upon the reaction that the defense makes during the course of the play. That is kind of the latest craze, I think, in college football. That is something that we certainly do a decent amount of. What makes our offense, I think, a little bit more complicated than most of those RPO spread attacks is that we tend to implement a NFL level complexity with our drop back pass game. So in terms of our different types of pass protections, 5-step drop, tempo, full field reads where a quarterback has a chance to throw to any number of up to 5 different options. That takes time as well. It takes time when you run the run-pass options, just getting a quarterback comfortable with making those split-second decisions. Do I hand the football off? Do I pull it out of the belly and throw? Do I pull it out of the belly of the tailback and run? That's more of a repetition thing. You do it over and over and over until your quarterback gets really good, your tailback gets that's really good at it. The offensive line know how far they can go downfield blocking, so on and so forth. The NFL style of game just adds a different element that we traditionally bring. It makes us a little bit more confident on third down and fourth downs, where we know we have a large number of plays. Sometimes a team that does a lot of RPOs, they're not great in third and long situations, just like triple option football. They're just, the Armies and Navies of the world typically aren't great on 3rd and 10, so they do everything they can to stay out of that. We're not adverse to those types of situations. We do wind up, I'm fairly aggressive with my play calling. We choose, we're fairly aggressive going for it on fourth down. On 4th and 5, 4th and 6, 4th and 7, those types of situations, because we do have confidence that we do have a lot of different types of plays and routes, that we're not a very predictable team in those situations. So it does take time. Hopefully we'll be able to build that level of execution as high as we possibly can before we kick it off against Temple this fall. At times we will. We're going to be about 90% of the time in shotgun. Okay, we will do some things under center. We will be multiple based upon the down and distance and the personnel group that we have in the game. So, but 90% of the time you're going to see us from the shotgun. Yes, we do, and that's a great question. So as we look forward to, there is some spots that are left, and I'm going to make that decision as I bring on my coordinators and get their input as well. And really, again, when you're looking at, one of the limitations that you have in the Patriot League is you have this roster limit of 90. So you have to be careful about where you fill your spots. And so as we look at the depth chart, we want to make sure that the potential to bring in another wide receiver may be great. There might be still a couple of really good potential wide receivers that are out there. But if our depth at the wide receiver position is at that point where it may be better for us as a program to hold on to that spot and perhaps use it next year or use it for a defensive position, there comes some science to working your roster to having the specific amount of players at each particular position that are on scholarship, that from a depth standpoint, because your roster is typically a little bit smaller than your typical Division I FCS roster. I know certainly at Valparaiso we had a roster of over 100. That made it a little bit easier. We didn't have scholarships, which made that part very hard in the recruiting process, but sometimes there's strength in numbers. So that's the biggest thing, is as we move forward, are we going to use those spots for this year or save them up and have a bigger recruiting class for next year, where there's a lot of variables we have to look at.